Hello, good morning, students. So, in the last class, we have started with the chapter biological classification. Okay, in the last class, we have also seen regarding the introduction of the chapter number 2, that is biological classification. Along with that, you have also studied regarding the five kingdom system of classification. So, as you all know, this five kingdom system of classification was proposed by R.H. Whittaker in the year 1969. According to him, that is, all the organisms can be classified under five kingdoms, namely Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, or you can also call Kingdom Mycota, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. So these were all the five kingdoms which were proposed by R.H. Whittaker. Then you know that this classification of the kingdoms was based on the complexity of the cell structure, then complexity of body organization, then mode of nutrition, then phylogenetic relationship, ecological role, and the lifestyle. So considering all these points, he tried to classify all the living organisms under the five kingdoms. Then, in the last class, you have also begin with Kingdom Monera. Okay, and this Kingdom Monera, as you all know, these are the simplest organisms with the complex behavior, and the best example for this is Kingdom Monera is your bacteria. So bacteria are the best example for this Kingdom Monera. Then we have also seen regarding the characters of Kingdom Monera. So this Kingdom Monera, as we have already talked about this, we will just revise it. So these are microscopic, unicellular, and prokaryotic in nature. Then here the nucleus in these organisms is represented simply by naked DNA, means the DNA is not covered by nuclear membrane. So this type of nucleus is called as nucleoid. Then regarding their presence, you can find them in deep ocean floor, hot deserts, hot springs, inside the body of the organism, outside the body of the organisms. Then regarding their cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan and polysaccharide. Then in these organisms, that is membrane bound cell organelles are absent. Then regarding their mode of nutrition, they are either autotrophic, that is photosynthetic, or they are chemosynthetic, or they may be heterotrophs. This you have seen. So here in the slides, that is Kingdom Monera, as I already told you, bacteria, this you have seen in the last class. Okay, then the bacteria. So regarding the reproduction, before going to the shape of bacteria, the reproduction you have seen, that is sexual reproduction is completely absent. Asexual reproduction is by binary fission and spore formation. Then you have also seen regarding, that is classification of bacteria based on their shape. So here the slide as it is showing, that is shapes of the bacteria. That is, some of the bacteria may be spherical, which are called as coccus or cocci. Some of them may be rod shaped, which are known as bacillus or bacilli singular. Bacillus singular, plural is bacilli. Some of them may be comma shaped, known as vibrium, or maybe spring shaped, known as spirillum. So these are all the different types of bacteria based on the shape of bacteria. This is what you have seen in the last class. Again, you can classify the bacteria into two different types, mainly, that is archaebacteria and eubacteria also. Before that, you have also seen regarding the structure of bacteria. That is, as already told, bacterial cell structure is simple, but the organization, it's simple, looks simple, but it has got complex behavior, and then it has got diverse metabolic activities which are taking place. Then these are autotrophs, as well as heterotrophs. Okay, this you have seen. Then you have also seen regarding the classification of bacteria, mainly divided into two types, that is archaebacteria and eubacteria. And then again archaebacteria, that is divided into here first one methanogens, then halophils, thermoacidophils. Then here eubacteria can be again divided into autotrophs and heterotrophs. Okay, so again these autotrophs, photosynthetic autotrophs, chemosynthetic autotrophs, heterotrophs are parasitic and saprophytic. Till here you have seen in the last class. In today's class we will see the further part of this chapter is about in detail about the archaebacteria. So this archaebacteria, you can say these are the most primitive group of monerans. Okay, or these are the old bacteria, you can say old, not old in age, but they were found earlier, long back. So they are the most primitive group of bacteria which were found on the earth when the condition of the earth was not so much favorable. So you can say these archaebacteria, you can find them everywhere, almost everywhere, especially in the harsh environments such as extremely salt conditions. You can find them in thermal springs where there is very high temperature. You can find them in you can say marshy areas. Okay, so in variety of harsh environment or habitats you can find these archaebacteria. Okay, then these archaebacteria, they are the heterogeneous prokaryotes, you can see. They are not same like. They are variety of organisms together will form archaebacteria. So these are the heterogeneous group of prokaryotes, and they have got capacity to flourish in extreme conditions of environment. It may be whether the absence of oxygen, whether it may be high temperature, whether it may be high salt concentration, etc. Okay, so their specialty is to live in extreme climatic conditions. Okay, and then the secret behind this is why they can live in such extreme conditions is because of their cell wall. Okay, their cell wall is made up of some proteins, glycoprotein or polysaccharide, and because of this only they can survive in extreme conditions. The main secret behind their survival in an extreme environmental condition is their cell wall structure. Okay, so this is about the characters of archaebacteria. Then again this as I already told, that is archaebacteria are of again three different types. That is, first one is methanogens, then halophils and thermoacidophils. So first we will talk about methanogens. So this methanogens, here in the diagram in the slide you may be seeing, that is all together they have given first halophils, then thermoacidophils, then methanogens. Okay, they have shown you the pictures of that. First we will see regarding the methanogens. So these methanogens, these are type of archaebacteria which you can usually find them in the intestine of ruminant animals, in the stomach. Okay, in the gut, they use the word gut. They are found in the gut of ruminant animals. Okay, that is in the digestive system of the animals like cow, buffalo. Ruminant animals means grass eating animals. Just like your cows and buffaloes, you can find this methanogens. So methanogens, these are the type of archaebacteria which are found in the gut of ruminant animals such as cow and buffalo. And these methanogens, they are responsible for the production of methane. Okay, that is biogas or gobar gas. Okay, then you may ask me the question, so how this methane gas is produced by these methanogens? So these methanogens, they act on cow dung of these animals and it is going to produce, that is biogas, or you can say gobar gas. Okay, and then along with this you can find these methanogens are found in the marshy areas. So here you can say they have given the picture of the cow, and in the digestive system of the cow you can find these methanogens are living, and sometimes these methanogens will come out of the body of these ruminant animals in the cow dung. Okay, so in the cow dung also by chance they will come out of the body, and there in the cow dung they are going to that is by anaerobic fermentation they'll convert your that is your cow dung into methane gas. Okay, so this is all regarding the methanogens. So this next one is regarding the that is before going to eubacteria I have to tell you regarding the halophils. So halophils are nothing but these are also the type of archaebacteria which are found in extremely salty conditions. Halo means salt. Okay, they are found in extremely salt conditions, just like your mangrove forest, Sundarbans you might have heard. There these are the forests which grow that is near the seashore. Okay, there you will have mangrove forest where you can find these halophils. Okay, they are found to grow in extremely salty areas. Then third category of archaebacteria is your thermoacidophils. So these thermoacidophils, thermo means temperature, acido means acid, phils means living. So these are the that is thermoacidophils are nothing but these are the bacteria who love to live in very high temperature as well as in the acid conditions. So these are temperature and acid loving archaebacteria, you can say, because they can grow in very high temperature of 55 to 59 degrees Celsius as well as pH of 2 degrees Celsius, which is an acidic pH. They love to grow there, so their name, that is thermoacidophils. So this is all regarding the archaebacteria, which are nothing but the primitive group of bacteria. The next one is eubacteria. So these eubacteria are nothing but these are called the true bacteria. Okay, so that does not mean that the archaebacteria are false bacteria. No. So archaebacteria are the primitive form of bacteria, but now the eubacteria these are the true type of bacteria which are characterized by rigid cell wall and flagella. If suppose they are motile, they will have flagella. Okay, so those are the eubacteria. Under the eubacteria, you can give the example of blue-green algae, or you can say cyanobacteria. Okay, so this blue-green algae, this eubacteria will include usually autotrophs and heterotrophs. Both the categories are found in this eubacteria. So here the diagrams, they are showing the pictures of the eubacteria. Okay, few of the examples they have given how they look like. Okay, they have given. Then next is about the in detail regarding the examples of eubacteria, that is in that again two types I told you, that is eubacteria again two types, that is autotrophs and heterotrophs. First we will talk about the autotrophs. Autotrophs are nothing but these are the bacteria which can synthesize their own food. The example for that is cyanobacteria, or you can also give the example of that is you can also say another name for that is blue-green algae. So here this photosynthetic autotrophs or blue-green algae, these are nothing but you can say these are unicellular. Okay, colonial or filamentous, freshwater or marine or sometimes terrestrial algae. So here the diagrams they have shown you. These are all the examples for cyanobacteria, that is Anabenna. Okay, that filamentous form of Anabenna, then Nostoc, Oscillatoria. These are all the blue-green algae. So first point regarding these blue-green algae are these are usually unicellular, made up of single cell. Then these are colonial. They live in a colony. They do not prefer to live individually. Okay, these are colonial. Then next is they are usually in the filamentous form. Filamentous means found one above the other. Then they are either freshwater or marine, that is they may be living in a freshwater like ponds, rivers, pools, or they may be marine, found in the seas or the ocean. And some of these algae are also found on the land, that is terrestrial algae. Then the speciality of these algae is they have got chlorophyll A, which is similar to the green plants, and hence you call them as photosynthetic autotrophs. Why do you call them as photosynthetic autotrophs? Because inside their body they are going to have chlorophyll A, which is similar to that of the green plants. Okay, so they are called as because of this chlorophyll A, They will synthesize their own food, hence they are called as photosynthetic autotrophs. The next point is these members of these cyanobacteria, or you can say the colonies of these cyanobacteria, are usually surrounded by gelatinous sheath. A gel-like substance is present around the filament of these or around the colonies of these blue-green algae. Then some of these blue-green algae, they are found to produce blooms. They will spread everywhere very rapidly, so they are called as bloom. They just like your flower blooms, isn't it? So like that, these algae will that is blue green algae will rapidly undergo division. They will spread throughout the water body, and hence that is called as, that phenomenon is called as blooming. So here these algae also, they are going to form blooms in the especially polluted water bodies. Okay, then some of these cyanobacteria, they are capable of fixing atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, they can absorb free nitrogen from the atmosphere and provide it to the plants. Okay, and they can do it because of the presence of a specialized cell inside their body, and that is called as heterocyst. Especially in the nostoc, you can see, you might have studied in your high school. In the nostoc, you can find a special type of that thick walled cell is present. That is nothing but the heterocyst, and this heterocyst, with the help of this heterocyst, this nostoc is capable of nitrogen fixation. Okay, so you can say some of these blue-green algae can fix atmospheric nitrogen with the help of specialized cells called as heterocyst. Okay, and one example for such nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria are nostoc, Anabaena, etc. Okay, then here these eubacteria, some of the eubacteria, along with being photosynthetic, some are chemosynthetic. Chemosynthetic autotrophs means instead of using light and chlorophyll for the synthesis of food, they are going to here use chemicals for the synthesis of food. So that type of synthesis is called as chemosynthesis, and such type of organisms are called as chemosynthetic autotrophs. Okay, what do they do then? So some of the blue-green algae, they are going to oxidize, that is some of the substances like, that is inorganic substances like nitrates, nitrites, ammonia, etc., and use that they are going to oxidize all these chemicals, and whatever the energy is released, that released energy is used for production of ATP, adenine triphosphate, which is called as the energy currency. Okay, that is energy rich molecule will be produced, and thereby when they are oxidizing the inorganic substances, whatever the energy is released, that energy is used for the production of ATP, and thereby what they are going to do is they are going to help in recycling of nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and sulfur. Okay, this is the role what they are going to play in nature. Okay, as they are using these inorganic substances, they are indirectly helping in recycling of nutrients. Okay, here they have given the pictures of these green sulfur bacteria, purple sulfur bacteria, and the other one, that is Veneni vibrio, Stagni pumatis. These are the few examples which are the example for chemosynthetic autotrophs. Then this is all regarding the eubacteria under that category, that is autotrophs. Then under the eubacteria again, the second category is heterotrophic bacteria. Heterotrophic bacteria, the definition itself tells you, the name itself tells you, that is hetero means these are the bacteria which will not synthesize their own food, but they are always dependent on others for their food or others for their survival. And these heterotrophic bacteria, they are the most abundant in nature. Then the majority of them are decomposers. Okay, that is decomposers means they grow on dead, and that is on the dead matter. Okay, and they derive nutrition from them. Okay, then these heterotrophic bacteria, they have got the impact, their own impact on the human body or the human beings. Okay, so this heterotrophic bacteria, or you can say in general, that is bacteria, they have got their they have got the impacts on the human beings, and the impacts may be beneficial as well as harmful. You can say they've got the beneficial aspects also, along with that they've also got the harmful aspects. Regarding the beneficial or the importance of bacteria, beneficial thing is usually the bacteria, they are used for preparation of curd. They used to make curd from the milk. Okay, as example Bacillus bacteria. Then some of the bacteria are used for production of antibodies. Then some of the bacteria are helpful in fixing of nitrogen. Okay, what do they do is, these bacteria, they are going to found living in association with the roots of higher plants, especially the legume plants. Okay, they go and live in the roots of leguminous plants, and there they are going to form the, that is, small rounded structures. Okay, that is there, sitting there, they are going to absorb free nitrogen and provide it to the plants. Such nitrogen absorbing bacteria are called as nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, so nitrogen fixation is also carried out by these bacteria, that is another beneficial thing. Then some of them, along with this, some of them can also be used as food, for example nostoc, spirulina, because they will be rich in protein. Okay, then the harmful aspects is, along with being useful to the man, some of the bacteria are pathogenic, causing number of diseases to human beings as well as crops, then animals as well as pets. For example, you can have cholera, then typhoid, tetanus. You can say this is all in the animals, then or human beings. Then citrus canker. Citrus canker is a type of a disease, bacterial disease, which you can find it in the plants. So like this, your bacteria which you find everywhere has got that is both the aspects, that is have got both the beneficial as well as harmful effects. Okay, so this is about the impacts of bacteria on human affair. Then coming to the reproduction of bacteria, when you see the reproduction of bacteria, so usually these bacteria reproduce mainly by asexual means, that is by binary fission. Here you can third picture in the slide you can see here, that is from one cell two cells are formed. Okay, that is binary fission. So that is here also, first picture also is going to show you the same thing. So first one is go slowly it is two cells are formed from a single mother cell, that is binary fission. Then here bacteria mainly by fission, that is binary fission, and under unfavorable conditions, okay, that is when there is no rainfall, scarcity of food, that time they are going to reproduce by production of spores, especially endospores, spores inside the body of the bacteria, that is endospores. Then suppose if they are usually they do not undergo by reproduction by sexual method, but suppose if they go for sexual reproduction, this sexual reproduction is by that is by the unidirectional passage of genetic material, that is by the unidirectional passage of genetic material or the DNA from one bacteria to another bacteria. Okay, transfer of DNA from one bacteria to another bacteria, and there are three ways by which this can occur. Sexual reproduction usually does not occur, but if it occurs, it is by the passage of genetic material from one bacteria to another bacteria, which can occur by three ways, that is either by transduction or transformation or by conjugation. So these are the three ways by which sexual reproduction may occur in your bacteria. So this is about the kingdom Monera. So next, before that is kingdom Monera, then along one thing is another way, another example, if you want you can also know regarding it, that is kingdom Monera. That is as I already told you, bacteria are the only examples, best examples for the kingdom Monera, but along with that sometimes you may also come across this mycoplasmas. So the mycoplasmas are nothing but these are also the members of kingdom Monera only. Okay, so these mycoplasmas are nothing but these are the organisms that is tiny unicellular microscopic organisms, but their specialty is they do not have cell wall, and these are the smallest living organisms which are known. Okay, and these mycoplasmas can survive when without oxygen, and usually these mycoplasmas are pathogenic in nature, and that is these are pathogens. They are responsible for causing disease in plants as well as animals. So this is in brief regarding the mycoplasma. Then next is regarding kingdom Protista. So this completes kingdom Monera. Then kingdom Protista. Kingdom Protista is the second kingdom in the system of classification which was given by R.H. Whittaker, that is 5 kingdom system of classification. So then who all are there in this kingdom Protista then? So this kingdom Protista, here you can see that is your amoeba, paramecium, euglena. They are the members which are in these are the few members which are coming under the kingdom Protista. There are many more. Okay, so here the amoeba, this is the paramecium and euglena. They are the members which are belonging to kingdom Protista. So this kingdom Protista, to say that is it has got its own characters, that is this kingdom Protista, it includes, here you can say single celled or unicellular eukaryotic organisms. That's the first specialty. That is the kingdom, that is kingdom Monera includes unicellular eukaryotic organisms. And when I say that is eukaryotic organism, they will be having true nucleus. Okay, these are unicellular eukaryotic organisms having true nucleus, and along with that, when they are called eukaryotic, they will be having membrane bound cell organelles. Membrane bound cell organelles like chloroplast, mitochondria, Golgi complex, etc. will be there. Okay, that's the first point. Okay, so regarding the kingdom Protista, first point is about their organization, that is these are unicellular eukaryotic organism having true nucleus and membrane bound cell organelles like chloroplast, mitochondria, etc. Then second point is here the members of this Protista are cosmopolitan in distribution. You can almost find them everywhere. Everywhere you can find the members belonging to kingdom Protista. Then the members belonging to kingdom Protista will have the characters of both Monera as well as the kingdom Plantae, Fungi and Animalia. Okay, so you can see it is the members belonging to kingdom Protista will be a mixture of characters. They will be have the characters of Monerans also, their earlier kingdom, as well as they will be having the characters of kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae and Animalia. Okay, then the next point is the members belonging to kingdom Protista will show locomotion. Okay, they will show locomotion, and this locomotion means movement. Then how they are going to show locomotion? Then the locomotion is with the help of cilia, flagella and pseudopodia. They show locomotion, and the locomotion is due to the presence of cilia, flagella or pseudopodia. Okay, then next one is about their nutrition. They exhibit different kinds of nutrition. Okay, they may be either photosynthetic or they may show photosynthesis. Those are called as autotrophs. Then they may be having heterotrophic type of nutrition, or they may be having saprophytic or parasitic. Mainly there are two types of nutrition, that is autotrophic and heterotrophic. Autotrophic means they will carry out photosynthesis. Heterotrophs, again two types in that, saprophytes and parasites. Okay, so like this. So that is they are going to exhibit different kinds of nutrition. Then coming to the reproduction, here the members belonging to kingdom Protista, they are going to show reproduction both sexually as well as asexually. So first of all, asexual reproduction is by binary fission and budding, whereas sexual reproduction is by production of gametes and then fusion of gametes. Then remember, these gametes will be always haploid. So production of haploid gametes, then that is male and female, then there will be fusion of haploid gametes, and then there will be formation of diploid zygote. So this is all the these are all the characters of kingdom Protista. Once again we shall just revise it. So first of all, this kingdom Protista will include unicellular eukaryotic organisms having true nucleus, membrane bound cell organelles like chloroplast, mitochondria, Golgi complex, etc. Then second point is they are cosmopolitan in distribution. You can find them everywhere. Then third point, that is they have characters of both monerans and members of kingdom fungi, plantae and animalia. Then fourth point, they are going to show locomotion, that is movement, and the locomotion is due to the presence of cilia, flagella and pseudopodia. Then they exhibit, next point, they exhibit different kinds of nutrition, that is they may be either photosynthetic, that is called as autotrophs, or they may be heterotrophs. Okay, in heterotrophs they may be either saprophytic or parasitic. The next one is they are going to show reproduction, that is asexually as well as sexually. Asexual reproduction is by binary fission and budding, whereas sexual reproduction is by production of haploid gametes and fusion of haploid gametes, and finally production of diploid zygote. So this is all regarding the characters or general characters of kingdom Protista. Okay, so here you can see that is protists are usually primarily aquatic. You can find them in aquatic, that is amoeba, paramecium, okay, euglena. Then as I already told you, they are going to be the link between the plants, animals and fungi. Then reproduction is by sexual as well as asexual means. So this is regarding general characters of kingdom Protista. Then here then coming to the classification of kingdom Protista. So here the kingdom Protista can be mainly divided under, that is usually when you see some textbooks you can find them, that is the kingdom Protista can be mainly divided under, that is three divisions, that is the three parts, that is first one is photosynthetic protist, then second category is slime molds, and the third category is protozoan protists. In some textbooks they have given the kingdom Protista can be divided into three parts, that is first one is photosynthetic protists, then second one is slime mold, and the third one is protozoans. So again under this photosynthetic protist, what I told, you'll have three different types, that is you'll have chrysophytes, then dinoflagellates, and and you can have euglenoids. Then the upper three what you are seeing, the chrysophytes, dinoflagellates and euglenoids, they are coming under photosynthetic protists. Then next category is regarding the slime molds, and the final third division is about the protozoans or protozoan protist also they call. So this is regarding the classification of this is all regarding the classification of kingdom Protista. And here we are going to study each division, that is division chrysophytes, division dinoflagellates, division euglenoids, and then slime molds, protozoan protist in detail one by one. And then we will see about the detail chrysophytes, division chrysophytes in the next class in detail. Thank you.